Hi, I'm Ian Berrigan. This is a slide presentation on business model Canvas basics, and I used it at UBC with the S3i group back in 2017. It was quite useful. It goes through a quick first pass of the Canvas, then it takes a deeper dive of the Canvas and uses that to help people talk about the day in the life of their customer. And then we use the Canvas to figure out the action planning. So I'm going to go back to slide view, and here we go. So introduction. So the business model canvas can be used in strategy, business plans, storytelling, linkages and relationships, and hypotheses. And it's really good for testing and keeping track. So it's a real good lens to look at a company quickly. So the activity number one. So this is the business model canvas. And so what we wanted to do in this one was their teams had been around for a while. So quickly we wanted them to sketch out with the business model canvas the right-hand side, so the customer segments. So the first exercise was to start on the right-hand side, and for every customer segment that a team had, we wanted them to have a unique value proposition. So to try to keep it simple for value proposition A and customer segment A, and same with customer segment B and value proposition segment B. And we really didn't want to stay on the left-hand side. And a little of that is because in a university setting, most people come at a startup from a technology perspective, and customers is the hardest part. So that's why we focused on the right-hand side. And so teams went off and worked out their customer segments and what the unique value propositions of those were. And so, who are your most important customers and what are their archetypes? What do they look like? Just a little more detail on what you would use for that. And then, of course, you're guessing, and it's okay to guess. Some teams are new, and they never really work through this. So activity number two is okay, you've got your customer segment, and you think it's correct, so sketch it for me. What does it look like? Who are the users in that customer segment? So for customer segment A, draw the day in the life of the customer now. And you can draw it as a service journey, purchasing decision flow, product journey, or something else. And then the day in the life of the customer in the future with your product or service. So what do you change, right? So what job, you can also think of it as what customers, what jobs do they have now? And how are you going to improve on that with pains, gains, and jobs? And so a bit of an example of that is okay, if you have a medical product, does it get used in an ambulance, emergency room, operating room? Who uses it? Nurse, doctors, patients, who specifies, who pays for it? And really get down to who actually uses it. We don't want to hear high-level things like small, medium, and business, or sort of things that don't have people involved with them. And so then we synthesize and summarize that, your day in the life views, and and tell us, ooh, I'm missing on this one here. So the thing about this was a lot of teams complained about that they couldn't do this day in the life. They didn't think it was useful. And in this workshop, why I love these slides so much is one of the teams provided the answer. And the answer is that the day in the life that we draw tells the customer how much we actually know about their world. And so if we can't draw it, that's how the customers hear us in our conversations. And so when some of the teams felt when they were talking to prospective customers and they were getting blank stares, it's because they were providing a blank picture to the customer. So getting this service journey, day in the life of the customer is super important. And it was really good how they came to in this workshop. And going forward in time, one of the things that I like to do when you're working with a team is over time, you go through that value proposition A, customer A, what worked and what didn't work, and you kind of follow through with that. So you have a kind of a learning environment with it. So activity 3 is a bit hard to explain, but here we go. So, how does this work for day to day? And, how do you make it work for your product marketing timeline? And so I like to think of it as at the bottom of this is your product, right? This is the thing that you're selling. But then each thing that you're selling needs marketing literature. It needs some context for where it fits. And that can be in terms of an infographic, a video, PowerPoint for who, the channel dependencies, what is the marketing literature that wraps your product around? Because your marketing literature is trying to do that day in the life of the customer. It's trying to reach out to someone who's got a gain or pain, a job they're doing, and you're trying to solve that. And so the marketing literature is very much taking your product and putting it out in the world to show how it's used. And then you can have a higher level of that where you talk about sort of business level solutions where you position what you're doing amidst other things, right? So it's almost like at that point you're getting into a sort of a more worldwide story to talk about what you're doing. So I could spend forever about that, but that's the main thing, is you kind of get broader as you move up this stack. And from a longer term planning, you need a sales plan. So who are your top prospects, and how are you going to actually sell to them? And with those, people you're going to sell to, you're going to need that marketing materials, right? And you're also going to need to show that you, from a corporate perspective, are viable, right? So as a startup, people don't want to buy with you because you may not survive for a while. So it's important to kind of have at least some sort of, corporate stability or story that you are stable. And that's basically it. And so how it all kind of works is you do this exploration of a business model canvas. You work it through, you do a day in the life of the customer, you kind of work out a timeline, and then you try it out for a while, kind of 6 weeks to a month, and then you review it and decide, okay, some things worked, some things didn't. I talked to a few more people, I got a better idea, and you reset, and then you go again. And so this provides you a way to do some review of the technical work of selling, and that's what this is all about. So thank you. And I also added in a couple things into this, is that the big thing with startups is that it's emotional. You start off with that honeymoon phase, you're in the pit of despair, and you go up, and that's what this shows. And you could also look at it in the life of a project where you start with the best idea ever, you get to the dark night of the soul, then you come out. And so, that's just sort of the gist of this. It's persistence, grit, and cheer, how to find a way to persevere and get the work done. So thanks for listening to me. It's a bit rough, but I wanted to wrap up an old presentation that was really quite useful. Thank you. Bye.